Hello, mortals! I am the booktube goddess, the #1 drag queen booktuber on YouTube. And it is time for another game of Shelve It or Shove It, the completely superficial way to pick books for your TBR based solely on their cover. Now I'm going to be looking at August new releases on Goodreads for my September TBR, and I'm probably just going to pick one book. If you haven't seen me play this game before, well, welcome to the ride. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell. And everyone, please give this video a thumbs up. Looking at young adult first, we have Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. Now, this is one of those covers that I'm not a big fan of because I've seen it so often where they have the font surrounded by themes to the novel, be it seashells or roses or whatever. This one happens to have a spider web and flowers, and there is a fly caught in the spider web. I don't know what this is about, and once again, I'm getting a little tired of this cover design, so therefore I'm going to shove it. Next up, we have The Dead and the Dark by Courtney Gould. This looks maybe a horror or possibly thriller. I do like the cover. It's sort of that bleeding ink that's in a sort of this reddish purple color, and it has two women and a cabin in the woods. Cabin in the woods, of course, gives me horror vibes, or this could be a thriller. I haven't had that much luck with young adult horror, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and shove it. Next we have How We Fall Apart by Katie Zhao. Now this author's name is familiar. I think she does middle grade books. But this is young adult and Study Hard, Betray Harder. I'm getting vibes of the Ivies from Alexa Dunn, which I had an author interview before, and a book I liked. This seems like it's in that category, except it looks like it's focused on Asian students, at least from the cover, and I do like how it's cut out like ripped pages being put back together. I'm not sure if I'm really in the mood for a thriller, but I think just based on the cover, I'm going to go ahead and shelve it. Next we have Redemptor by Jordan Ifueko. Apologies if I mispronounced that name. Now the cover design makes me know right away that this is a sequel, I believe, to Ray Bear, which I have not read yet. And I've been wanting to read that book, but I don't think I'm going to pick up the sequel for Shelve It or Shove It. But I'm going to remind myself to make sure that Ray Bear is on my TBR because I have heard so much about this series and I am curious. But for now, for this one, I'm going to shove it. And finally, in young adult, we have The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. And this looks very generic. I know it's about witches because of the title. There are stars on the cover and it's a black background and the stars form the shape of a crescent moon. Other than that, I don't know if this is a supernatural fantasy or this could be a more traditional fantasy in another land. I don't know. Don't know enough about it. I'm going to have to shove it. Now let's move on to science fiction. First up is The Shimmering State by Meredith Westgate, and I've just heard of this author's name recently. The cover's, it's a photorealistic scene of a beach, and there's sort of this rainbow film over it. An impressive, unsettling, and surprisingly romantic debut. Oh, this is a debut, says Helen Schulman. But based on the cover, I don't know. I have no idea what this is about. and it's not drawing me in, so I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Light Chaser by Peter Hamilton and Gareth Powell. Now, I do recognize the name Peter Hamilton. I think I've read something by him before, but it's been a while. So let's just look at the cover. It has a space station orbiting a planet that does not look like Earth. Gosh, other than that, it's pretty generic. I mean, it's a generic science fiction cover. I probably would read the blurb if I was in the bookstore, but I'm just basing this on the cover and I am not getting any depth. So I'm going to have to shove it. Next up is Holdout by Jeffrey Kluger. Don't know this author. I do kind of like the cover. There is a spacesuit, and within the helmet of the spacesuit, it looks like maybe a dead person or a zombie, or maybe someone taken over by alien parasites. I don't know. Kind of interesting. Okay, let's just go ahead and shelve it. Next we have Reclaimed by Madeline Rue. And I'm assuming this is an android robot situation, and the robot, I assume, is in a female gendered form because that's what it looks like. And we see sort of this milty, silvery, Terminator-esque Quicksilver oozing on the page that's part of her face. Gosh, I've been seeing a lot of robot-themed science fiction. It must be a trend. I'm not getting enough from this, so let's go ahead and Next up is The Second Rebel by Lyndon A. Lewis, and I love this cover. I like the image of the man, statue, whatever it is, holding that, I guess, futuristic sword. I like the colors. I like the graphics. So even though I don't know much about this, I am going to have to shelve it. That was all in science fiction. Now we're going to move on to fantasy. First up is Nolan by Michael J. Sullivan. And I'm embarrassed to say that I have not read Michael J. Sullivan before, but I know he is a super popular fantasy author. Makes me curious. And it says The Rise and Fall Book 1. So if I pick up this book, I will be starting a series, but then again, I'd have to wait for the next book to come out. Looking at the cover, I think it is gorgeous. I like the image of a man at a campfire, and there's a fantasy forest around him, and looks like there are things going on. But I appreciate they're telling me this is book 1, but I would prefer to start when at least 2 or 3 books are out in a series. So for that reason, I'm going to shove it. By the way, if you've read anything by Michael J. Sullivan, could you let me know in the comments if he's a good author or not? Because I've just seen him so much in these Shelved and Shelveds, and I'm surprised that I haven't read anything by him that I remember. Next up is The Desert Prince by Peter V. Brett. And I know this author because I really liked his series about, it was a high fantasy, I would say. I do recall the books I read, what was it called? But the magic system involved runes. Like, I think there was tattoos involved and drawing runes and demons coming in from other dimensions. The Warded Man, great series. So already, because I know this author and liked his works before, I am really interested, and I do like this cover. It almost looks like a card, like one of those Magic the Playing cards, with a woman in the center with a staff, maybe, and a desert background, obviously, and embossed around the frame are crowns and daggers and monsters and gauntlets and flutes. Okay. You know how I started this. You know I'm going to shelve it. Next up is In the Watchful City by S. Kiyi Lu. I don't know how to pronounce the middle name, apologies. The cover is very colorful and it has almost a cartoonish graphic to it. Boy, do I have no idea what this is about. I'm gonna say contemporary fantasy. Yeah, I have too many questions. I'm going to go ahead and shove it. Next up is Paper and Wood by Kevin Hearn from the World of the Iron Druid Chronicles, Book 2 of Ink and Sigil series. You know what? I think I almost picked up Book 1 when it came up in Shelve It or Shove It before. And I love the illustration. I know it's just words, but they're obviously artistically hand drawn. And it's lovely illustration, but I'm not going to pick up Book 2. I have to say I am kind of curious about this. I haven't heard of the Iron Druid Chronicles, and I haven't heard anyone talking about this series. If you've read it, please let me know what you think. But just based on the fact it's Book 2, I think I'm going to shove it. Next up is The Pariah by Anthony Ryan, a master storyteller according to Mark Lawrence. Don't know who Mark Lawrence is. The cover is generic fantasy. There is a warrior or assassin maybe sitting cross-legged. It's dark in the back. He's sitting on some cobblestones contemplating his navel or his sword. It's not really speaking to me. Like I said, it feels a little generic for me. So therefore, I'm going to shove it. Okay, let's see how we did. We have One Young Adult, How We Fall Apart by Katie Zhao, possibly thriller. And in science fiction, we have two books, Holdout by Jeffrey Kluger and The Second Rebel by Lyndon Lewis. And in fantasy, we have The Desert Prince by Peter Brett. Well, I think I know what I'm going to pick. You might have guessed by listening to me, so I'm not going to deliberate. It's going to be The Desert Prince by Peter Brett. Now I'm picking it because I do like the cover a lot, but I know this author and I know I really enjoyed that Warded Man series. If you've read it, let me know down in the comments below whether you've liked it or not. But let's go ahead and read up on The Desert Prince. Oh, a brand new epic fantasy adventure set in the beloved world of the Demon Cycle. That's the Warded Man series, following a new generation of heroes. Okay, so it's not rehashing the other characters. Very interesting. 15 years have passed since the end of the war with demons, creatures of darkness who have hunted the night and plagued humanity since time out of mind. The heroes of humanity's hour of need have become legend, and those who remained struggle to escape their shadows. Olive Paper and Darren Bales have grown up in this new peaceful world. Demons have been all but destroyed, but dangers still lurk for the children of heroes. Olive, Princess of Hollow, has her entire life planned out by her mother, Duchess Leisha Paper, a steady march on a checklist to prepare her for succession. The more her mother writes the script, the more Olive rails against playing the parts she is assigned. Darren faces challenges of a different kind. Though free to choose his own path, the weight of legacy hangs heavy around his shoulders. It isn't easy being the son of the man people say saved the world. Everyone expects greatness from Darren, but the only thing he's been great at is hiding. But when Olive and Darren step across the wards one night, they learn the demons are not all gone, and those that remain hunger for revenge. Events are set in motion that only prophecy can foresee as Olive and Darren seek to find their own places in the world in time to save it again. Okay, I think it's kind of interesting that if you think my makeup looks a little different, it's not because my video was so blurry that it was unusable and I had to refilm this entire wrap up. No, that didn't happen. Anyway, I am so excited to have picked The Desert Prince by Peter Brent. I really love the Warded Man series, and I think it's kind of interesting that this new series set in this same world is with the next generation of characters. I'm expecting to really love it. I'll let you know if I didn't, but I'm not really happy it's only the first book of the series. I kind of like it when there's at least 2 books out, but never mind, I'm sure I will get over it. So I think that wraps up Shelve It or Shove It. Until we meet again, may all the books you read be blessed.